Hi, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be doing a comparison video between the W2 from Wonderfold, the Larktale Caravan, and the Pronto One Stroller. I'm hoping this time to also not give you my opinions, just to give you details so that your decision-making process for what's best for your family is a little bit easier. And I'm going to try and be very thorough, but if there's anything else that I leave out, I'll try and answer your questions really quickly in the comments. So without further ado, let's get into it. If you have two kids in the Larktale, the push is pretty difficult going up a hill or an incline or something like that. Otherwise, on flat terrain, it performs pretty much just as well as any other stroller wagon I've ever pushed. Even with the two kids in on flat ground, it does pretty well. The Pronto handles really well on pavement. If there's a crack or a bump in the sidewalk, it takes it with ease. It handles better than any stroller I've ever had. And my husband can even push it one-handed up hills and things like that. So we've always been impressed with the Pronto push. The W2 push is my least favorite of the three. I struggle going up hills. Even flat ground with both of my kids in it is really difficult. So if you're going to get a W2, I recommend you just go for the 2.0, get those better tires, and make your life easier. It's a little heavier, but I promise it'll be worth it. So this is just to show you kind of the terrain that I'm doing this little experiment on. These tree roots have come up through and made these crazy bumps, so I thought it would be interesting to test that out. I was impressed with the Larktale's performance on these bumps. It handled it better than either of the other two options, so definitely can handle these bumps pretty well. The Pronto comes in a close second for me on these bumps. It was pretty good, but definitely the Larktale came out in front. This one's a little painful for me to watch. I felt really guilty about his head bouncing around the way it did when we got stuck on the bumps, but it just didn't make it over the bumps. It wasn't happening very easily. I had to pick up some speed, really give it a lift by pushing down on that handlebar to give it a chance, and it was just really difficult. So I reiterate, if you're going to get a Wonderfold W2, spring for the 2.0, get those bigger tires. It'll be worth every dollar. For the sake of clarity, I only had my youngest in the Larktale for this video, but it did just fine in the grass. It has suspension, so that helps with the bumps that you go over. I found the pull bar to be ridiculous, not useful for me, makes things more difficult. The Pronto does well in the grass. I even put my child on the other end and not over the big tires to give it a little bit of a disadvantage, but it performed just as well as it ever does, so I definitely recommend this for most terrains. W2 performed fine on the grass. I think if it could have locked in the front, it would have been helpful, but I did put my child over the small tires, and it was fine. When I let go one hand, it did drift to the left, but otherwise than that, it was okay. Two things to note, I had 25 pounds on each seat in these clips, and I did not lock the front tires, so that's just something to keep in mind. It did drift a little bit, so I tried not to move very often left or right because it would kind of scatter. But other than that, it did really well. I know that the rubber and the traction on the tires was really helpful for the snow. So I would say the Larktale handled pretty well, especially considering that the front tires were not locked. The Pronto performed the best of all the three options. It didn't lose traction, it didn't slide around, especially because it didn't have the two front tires locked, so that was impressive to me. The winter cover is really great, and I really love the hand muff so that I don't have to have gloves on and still be comfortable. But if you do go into the deeper snow, I either lock the front tires or just try to avoid the deeper snow because eventually you will get stuck. The W2 had just as much trouble as the Larktale, or perhaps a little more. The tires are more like foam, less traction, so it had trouble in that area. The canopy is there's pros and cons. The nice thing was being able to see my baby and talk to him easily, and he likes being outside, but it does mean that he was colder because it is wide open. So being able to lock the front tires would have been really nice to just keep us more on course. However, I did notice that once we moved into the same area as the Larktale, it went pretty much just as far as the Larktale did into the deeper snow. So that is something to consider. So these are going to be the fold and stow portions of the video where you see exactly how it is to fold each of the strollers or wagons and what it looks like in the back of my Highlander trunk. You'll notice that there's a clip missing for the Larktale because with the W2 and the Pronto, I was able to fit it behind my third row when it was up. In the Larktale, that's just not possible. The canopies put a lot of height to the thing and the tires as well. Thankfully, the tires are easy to take on and off. However, I don't understand why the Larktale advertises a one-hand fold. That's just impossible. But with the canopies on, but the tires off, we're able to fit it diagonally in the back of the Highlander with the third row down. So something to consider for your trunk space if you're going to have the Larktale Caravan. So this is the portion for the Pronto. He's going to go ahead and fold this and stick it in the back. The nice thing is, I mean, he put it in a way that would take up the most space possible, to be honest. You can always put it on its side, and it's a much more slender profile once you get it into the trunk. And that way you can still fit a lot of things. You can fit, groceries, other strollers, blah, 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 what have you. But even this way, with it taking up the most space as possible and the tires left on, there's still enough space for our compact stroller, which is the Cubit LTE Plus. It's not the most compact stroller on the market, but it's the one that we have and we liked it. I got it for a really good deal. I'm always into getting the deals. So he is able to fold it and put it in next to the Pronto. So that gives you even a better idea of the space that you can have. Here you see that he's going to go ahead and put the Pronto in behind the third row when it's up. It does require you to take the tires off, but thankfully for the Pronto, the tires are very easy to come off, and the Larktale as well. The Wonderfold, you have more difficulty with the front tires. They're pretty difficult, so I wouldn't recommend trying that. But with this one here, you can close the door, and it's really a good fit there in the back of the Highlander with the third row up. I'll be honest, the first time that we tried it this way, I was really worried that it was not going to close the door, but thankfully it does. The reason that we're including these clips of the fold is just so you can get a realistic idea of what it's like. If you're going grocery shopping and you're going to be there with the kids and you need to fold it, like how long is this really going to take? We just thought that would be helpful, because you're going to use it every day. So with the Wonderfold, you're going to take the canopy off. It has a little convenient place for it to go on. We're able to fold the W2 with both seats clipped to the back, but removed from the sides and kind of like shoved down into the wagon. This one has a few more steps, I would say, than either of the other two. So you're going to want to practice this just to get the hang of it, if you're going to be out and about with your W2, as there are more things to do. But it does have a more compact fold than the Larktale for sure. So it's more friendly to trunk space, and you're going to want to make sure that you do that last clip, otherwise it'll just come right undone. Similarly to the Pronto, with this one, it took up less space in the trunk, so we're able to fit, honestly, I think if we had a second Cubit, he would have been able to put 2 in there. I'm not sure about that for the Pronto, but with the W2, I mean, it was a good enough space that I think he could have probably put 2 if we had to test out. Very proud of himself. And here you'll see he's going to stick the third row up in case you have extra passengers that day. And he didn't have to take any of the tires off for this one. It was really easy just to put it in there, and I swear to you, the door did close. The Larktale is the most difficult for me to curb hop with, just due to how long it is, trying to be careful about the curb so that you don't damage the bottom of the stroller wagon, and getting that second kid up off the ground is difficult. The Pronto's a total breeze going up the curb. The bar is easily accessible, and because it's a continuous bar, just pop right up. The W2 is tricky because the bar is obscured in the back, but other than that, no problems curb hopping. One other feature that might be kind of like a small thing to note is just that when you're going over the curbs, one, you might want to be careful going over tall curbs because of the footwell. It will, potentially scrape on that bar. And there have been accidents that have happened with kids with a soft footwell getting their feet injured going over a tall curb. So if you have an outrageously tall curb, just be aware of that. But also, if you can see, this bar is not continuous going across because it folds this way. When you fold the Larktale, it folds up. So when I was doing my research, I was kind of surprised to find that this is like gravity held in place. There's no locking mechanism. So when you do fold it up anyway, you have to use, the little strap to keep it in place. But even when it's down, when it's fully, like fully engaged this way, it's kind of like gravity held. So this affects it in a way that, one, the Larktale is longer than the others, and it doesn't have like a continuous bar to give leverage when you're going over a curb. So it's just something to be aware of, that it does make it harder because it is longer and you don't have that strength of like a continuous bar. Like, for example, you see how the Pronto just has one long bar right here. So when you push back on this bar and you are going up over the curb, it's pretty strong and it lifts really well. This has the added thing that it is a little bit longer, so it makes it a little more difficult, especially if you have weight on that second seat. If you don't have weight on that second seat, I don't really think it's that much of a concern. But I have noticed like some creaking and like just general worrisome things going over the curb when I have both kids in the Larktale, because this doesn't have that strength of the, full bar. Like the Wonderfold also folds up that way. However, it locks in place. So this is like, it gives the strength that like a continuous bar would have, whereas this one does not have that. So just something to keep in mind if you are going to be having kids on both sides of the Larktale, that it can be a little bit tricky going up the curbs. Okay, so I'm going to take this opportunity to show you guys the brakes on each of these stroller wagons, and to also talk about a little bit about the curb, how the design affects going up and down curbs. Pardon that they are dirty, but we do use all of them so that we can form well-rounded opinions and give good information about everyday use. So I'm going to start here with the Larktale. I'm going to engage and disengage each brake so you can hear how loud they are compared to the other ones. So here's the Larktale. It's a little bit jarring, but it's not bad. It's pretty straightforward. I wouldn't say that this is really open shoe friendly, but it's not bad. It is difficult to curb hop with a Larktale because it is so long that I find if you have a child on the far end, it just doesn't feel very sturdy, and it's just difficult to kind of get the other end up, which is what you need to do in a curb hopping situation. So although the bar is pretty readily accessible, which is nice, just the length of the Larktale does make curb hopping a little bit precarious. And then we go on to the W2 here. This is the brake. So it's actually very quiet. I think it's the quietest out of all the three. The thing that is difficult with this one is that the bar is here behind, so you have to really like sneak your foot under here in order to curb hop. It isn't as long as the Larktale, so it does distribute the weight a little bit better. It's a little bit easier to go up the curbs, but like my husband's foot can't fit in between here, but mine can. So I guess, it depends on who's pushing. I know that some people, because they do tend to kick this brake, have done this hack where they flip it around. So they put the brake to the inside, and then you're easily more able to use this and then also not kick the brake. But obviously then you're in a position where you cannot use the brake. So, it's a matter of preference. And then here is the Pronto brake. And this one is really, really easy to clean. It was just dirty, and I literally just went like this, and it got mostly clean. It's a little bit louder than the W2. Yeah, but very easy to use. I think it's pretty comfortable for all shoes and feet or whatever, because it's rounded. Although it is metal, it is rounded. So and it's kind of like that matte paint there, so it's easy to clean. But I mean, curb hopping is really easy because the bar is right here, so you can go ahead and just get your foot on there and pop up. I've literally never had a problem with the Pronto, no matter how many kids are in here, even 3. And I think I forgot to go over this one. This is not sharp. I would say that this Larktale, the bottom edge here, is a lot sharper than this. So in terms of open toe or flip-flop friendly or whatever, what have you, I think this is the most friendly, and then this one, and then the Larktale. But yeah, that's my overview of the brakes there, and I hope that was helpful to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and compare the handlebars of these 3 for you, just so you can know kind of what you're getting into when you're doing a comparison. This is the handlebar for the Larktale, and it is adjustable. It adjusts on the sides. You have to push both buttons on each side down, and it adjusts up and down. It does go completely straight up and completely straight down, and it has what they call a leatherette handle. I don't know what that means, but I assume that it's leather of some kind. It is not removable. It's sewn on there, as you can see, no zipper. So this is going to be the only hand. I guess you could cover it with something else if you prefer, but this is what it comes with. Every stroller and wagon that I've had that has this kind of adjusting handlebar, I've always seen that you should not put weight on it, because this will damage it over time. If you put a lot of weight on it, you're going to damage this joint. So I recommend that you don't put weight on this. This is the Pronto handlebar, and it comes stock with these brown leather wraps. They have a zipper on the side so you can take it off and change them out. They also, with the black body kit, sell black leather handlebars, which are great too. And I'm sure you could probably, I think Lauren is going to be making covers of these. She had rose gold that she was debuting in the Pronto group that I saw recently. So these are interchangeable. Underneath, they have kind of like that foam under. So I guess if you prefer that, you could just take them off altogether. But they, will catch hair and debris and things like that. So this is pretty nice. They come standard with this. And this is a telescoping, adjustable, one-handed handlebar, which is really nice. And because it is telescoping and it doesn't have a hinge like these do, you can put a lot of weight on these. I mean, I have the Pronto hooks here, so you can see them. They have this rotating double hook so that you can adjust them individually. I load this thing up with my shopping, and because it does have this kind of adjusting mechanism and it's not a joint, you can put lots of weight on that. So I never feel bad to stuff this thing full of stuff, hang my bags here, hang my diaper bag here. I always have confidence in that because it is very strong, and it's not going to damage over time the way that other kinds will. And this, I mean, it does go pretty high and pretty low. I'm going to put the comparison details on the comparison chart. And I mean, I know that there are people of many, many different heights. I've seen, some people as short as 5 foot or shorter than that, that have, that use the Pronto comfortably, and people as high as, 6'4", 6'8" on the Pronto page that say that they use it and they don't kick the brake. So, it's pretty well adjustable. And then this is the handlebar for the Wonderfold, and it has, like I said, on the Larktale, 2 buttons, 1 on each side, and you have to push them both in to adjust. And it has this like a spandex kind of a covering here, and it has a zipper, so you can remove it. And then underneath is kind of just like that foam that comes kind of on a lot of strollers, so you can take it off and wash it, I guess, if it gets dirty or sweaty or something. So that's a pretty nice feature. But kind of the same thing that I would say with the Larktale is, you don't want to put a lot of weight on this because it's already kind of, more, how do you say it, like less, like this doesn't really go anywhere, but like these kind of do this number. So I wouldn't put a lot of weight on these because you don't want to damage your handlebars, very quickly there. But hopefully that's helpful to you in some way. Just so that you can get an idea. And I think these also go straight up and straight down. Let me see. So this is as low as that goes. So it doesn't go straight down, actually. That's as low as that goes. But there are the handlebars. Hopefully that was helpful. But if you have any more questions, this is kind of an impromptu idea to do the handlebars. I didn't do it in my last comparison video. So if you have any questions, just reach out, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer. The Larktale has an optional 3 or 5-point harness. It does not stay together. So I've seen that some parents zip tie theirs because it's annoying to have the shoulder pads falling off all the time or having to rethread the waist strap through the shoulder straps, but there is that hack. The Pronto also has a 3 or 5-point optional harness, but it is clipped together, so that keeps everything in place. You're not having stuff falling off all the time. The W2 harness has a similar issue to the Larktale. However, they do sell separately for $36 a set of magnetic ones that are supposed to solve the problem of everything falling apart. I just wanted to take a minute to highlight some of the unique features that the Wonderfold and the Larktale have. The Larktale, it does have the recline, which is very unique, and my son loves it. The only thing is that with the canopies on, his head doesn't have that much room. So if you have a taller kid or an older kid, something to keep in mind, but it is a really nice feature. The other thing that the Larktale does have that is very unique is the optional footwell. This is pretty nice. You know, you just want to be careful when you're going up like a really tall curb, but for a lot of families, they love the footwell. It does have very wipeable material where the feet go, and it also has a zipper that you can unzip to let like debris and stuff come, you know, out of that area to keep it clean. I found that the way of making it flat versus, you know, opening it up to make it the footwell again is really a little bit difficult to use. So if you're thinking, oh, it'll just be easy to convert, you know, if my child wants to take a nap and lay out flat or something, it's not really that like quick and easy to do, but it is really great to have the option. So that's just something to consider. The other thing is that the Larktale does have like a pull bar on the other side of the wagon, opposite the pushing side. And you can see that in some of the video that I shot earlier. I don't find it to be very good. It just kind of prohibits the space, the head space that your child has on that other side. So if you have, like I said, a taller and older kid, it's going to be like not that comfortable for them right there. And it just doesn't, it's not a very comfortable height for pulling, in my opinion. Maybe for someone that's taller than me, it would be great. But for me, it's just like a weird angle for your shoulder. So for a pull option, I don't think it's that great. Conversely, on the W2, it's kind of a similar scenario in that they advertise that, you know, you can pull or push. They give you a little nylon strap to pull. And if you look in my W2 unboxing, you can see that strap, and you can see kind of what we thought about it at the time, our first impression. But it's just very flimsy, so I can't imagine, you know, because it says on their website, you know, that if you're having a heavy load, or like if you're at the beach or something, and so you need to like have the option to pull, I don't see that being useful. It's just very flimsy, like it's just very odd. Like it's like the strap that you would use if you have like one of those leashes for your children so they don't run away in public. It's like that. So for my sake, I never used it. I don't think it's really a great option, but you know, I mean, I guess it's something they can use to say that they have a pull option. But the really cool thing that I love about the W2 is the door. You can unzip a door only from the outside, so that the kids cannot unzip it from the inside to escape. You can unzip it from the outside so kids can climb in. That was my biggest thing about having a wagon that has such tall sides, is that once you have bigger kids, if you're pregnant, you know, whatever, if you have back problems, medical issues, that lifting children up into the wagon each time can be really taxing, and for some people completely impossible. So to have that option to open the door and let kids climb in on their own is fantastic. I really love that. It's very unique to the W2, or to Wonderfold, really. So I do like that. I prefer their style of canopy over so many, because it only comes with one panel. If you buy an extra panel, it provides such good coverage. I mean, sure, it won't get the back and the front. I think you can get customizable ones done for that, but if you just get an extra panel, for like the same one that they sell, it's such good coverage from all sides, and it's so easily customizable to whichever way the sun's coming or whatever like that. So I think that the canopy is a great plus from the Wonderfold as well. So you just want to take those things into account. Those things are kind of special things that I wanted to remark on, as you can see both sides of it, the pros and the cons. Hopefully that wasn't just me rambling, and that was useful. We added a couple more rows this time with more information, so please go ahead and pause, take a look. This is a lot to take in. Hopefully it will help you if you have specific questions. And please note that I did my best to find the information on the tire material for the Wonderfold, and it was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, go.
There's our comparison video between the Pronto 1, the Larktale Caravan Stroller Wagon, and the W2 from Wonderfold. I'm really hoping that we gave enough details to help you make this decision for what you want to buy for your family. I know it can be a really big decision, so if there's anything that I missed, any questions that I didn't think of that you might have, please go ahead and leave in the comments. I try to answer pretty quickly, and please join me, like and subscribe, because I'm going to be releasing next week, hopefully, the Wonderfold W2 individual review as well as the Larktale individual review, so you can have more of a well-rounded idea of, just from everyday use, my impressions, my thoughts, my likes, my dislikes. And if there's anything else that you would like me to review, just let me know. Happy to do it. So thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it, and leave us any support in the comments. We really appreciate it. So have a good one, and we'll see you next time.